You know what they say about the best laid plans, and I can tell you my plans did not go as I expected on Saturday. Hi, everyone. Al DeMarco here, General Manager at DeMarcoSports.com. This is going to be your Sunday video report. I'm going to have a free play on game number 4 of the Minnesota LA Lakers series coming up in just a moment. Gave you a free winner on the T-Wolves in game number 3 here on the video on Friday. So yesterday, my best bet over at DeMarcoSports.com happened to be raise the bar 20 dime potential winner number 6 out of 9 in basketball. So much for that play on Oklahoma City. Lost it. Net loss, 22 dimes. But I did cash in with the 10 dime series play on Oklahoma to win it in 4, which they did at plus $1.45. So it negated the losses for the day, but it was still a net losing day. Then here on the video report, I said that my complimentary play was going to be, my top play was going to be the LA Clippers. They lose outright as a 5.5 point home chalk. Yet I told you that I also leaned strongly toward the Cleveland Cavaliers and had a hunch about the Golden State Warriors, and they both won. Some days, that's how the cookie crumbles. So that brings us to today's card. Let me just tell you the numbers going into this particular selection. The free pick run, 48 and 20 with my last 68. That's going back to October in all sports. Also winning 28 of my last 40. I can live with that. I think you probably can as well. And again, game number 3, the selection on the Timberwolves, or excuse me, game number 4 on the Timberwolves and Lakers coming up in just a moment. Always keep in mind, I like to tell you that, you can always fast forward to the parts of the video that you want to because the chapters are down there. I don't monetize the channel. Those annoying YouTube ads, which there's a reason I pay for YouTube Premium because I can't stand annoying YouTube ads. I don't make any money on them if it's interrupting the video. Again, that's your prerogative. I do want to answer a quick question. However, somebody asked in the comments section. I try to answer them when I get an opportunity. And by the way, in the comments section, you're more than welcome to leave your plays and what you like on a daily basis because it is a gambling community. Nobody's watching this because they want to see whether I re-dyed my beard today. So keep that in mind. But listen, the question was this. A gentleman posed this query and he said, do handicappers bet on their own plays? I think it's a pretty legitimate question. So I would say that in my years of doing this, and I've worked with a lot of guys and run into a lot of guys, I would say at least 75 to 80%, maybe even a little higher, maybe up to 85%, absolutely play their own plays. Listen, it's not a sickness. It's what we do for a living. Now, some people will say, well, if you work in a candy store, you won't eat the candy. Okay, I can understand that. I think the larger point to be contested or discussed here is this. I think there are a lot of handicappers, just like gamblers, who let their wins and losses affect them. How many times have you heard me say that I don't lament the losses, nor do I celebrate the wins? But that is not the case, not just for gamblers, but for handicappers too. So some guys, when they lose their best bet on the site, that they've released on a particular day, and that also happens to be the game they played, you don't know how much they're betting on those games. And I have seen repeatedly over the years, and let's say if I had to put a percentage on this, I would say probably an easy 30 to 35% of the guys who wager their own plays, when they lose, it affects the way they handicap. It affects the way they release their plays in terms of ratings. They become gun shy. They become upset. They become manic. So in that case, they'd be better off not betting their plays. Again, I would say probably 80 to 85% do, but it's a double-edged sword because it depends on somebody's mentality, how they can handle personally winning or losing money. Listen, yeah, I lost yesterday and I showed a net loss, but, I'm also heavily, heavily, heavily invested in the stock market. And I spend just as much time handicapping the stock market, and that's what I do, I handicap it, as I do plays. I mean, Jesus, I've lost, I think, as much as $38,000 in a single day, and I'm not a day trader, but I've repeatedly won. 17. It's funny, I say one, but I'm looking at it, but that's how I look at the market. Now, I've won easily, 15, 20, $22,000 so many times. I'm the same person. When I lost the 38 grand, I'm the same person when I win the money. And you see the same thing here on the video. I don't let the wins and losses affect me, but a lot of guys do. Okay, let's talk about this game number 4. I'm surprised that Minnesota is only 2.5 point favorite. I thought they'd be somewhere about 3.5 to 4.5 points, but hey, that's a bonus as far as I'm concerned. Now, what I like is the way the Timberwolves' depth shined through once again at the latter stages of game number 3. Remember, that game was tied 103 with about 4.5 minutes to play. But who did Chris Finch have out there to close that game out? Not Rudy Gobert, who has absolutely been missing in action throughout this entire series. Not starting point guard Mike Conley, who for the second straight game played only 21 minutes. No, he had Naz Reid, Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, Anthony Edwards, of course, and Jaden McDaniels. That's the quintet that closed out game number 3. And that is such an inherent advantage coming into this series for Minnesota against an LA Lakers team that just doesn't have any depth. Hell, the numbers bear truth. The Lakers have averaged a little over 97, almost 98 points through the first 3 games of the series. But Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves have contributed to averaging nearly 73% of the Lakers' offensive output because J.J. Redick doesn't have a bench. In fact, outside of those 3, only one other player has reached double figures throughout the series for L.A. The other problem with the Lakers, as you saw in game number 3, has been a problem that has bothered them all season long, even before they acquired and after they acquired Doncic. Turnovers. 19 turnovers led to 28 points for Minnesota. There is a reason that Minnesota took 91 shots versus the Lakers 78, and turnovers play a large part in that. The other thing you saw in game number 3 is a problem that has bothered the Lakers all season long. They've got no rim protection. Jackson Hayes is being exploited. He's hardly playing. He's only averaging like 8.8 minutes a game in this series. No rim protection is not going to change today. So there are just a number of factors I think that play into Minnesota being the play. And let's not overlook potential fatigue. This game, being an early game today, starting at 3:30 Eastern time, means it's going to be starting about 35, 36 hours after game number 3 ended on Friday night. Again, Lakers don't have any depth. I mean, how much can you expect LeBron to contribute once more? I'm sure Luka will be much better than he was in game number 3 when he was plagued by that stomach ailment. But do you think LeBron can possibly carry and shoulder the offensive load again with 38 points, hit 5 3-pointers, really turn back the clock performance? I just don't think so. So again, I'm going to go with Minnesota minus 2.5 points here in this particular contest, and that's going to be your complimentary play. You know, I looked at the other games here. I lean a little towards Orlando plus the points because I'm sure it's going to once again be a half-court defensive physical game with the Magic being able to stay within the number. Milwaukee, Indiana, again, I told you the other day, I have no idea what goes on in that series. And the Pistons and the Knicks, tough. I lost in game number 3 in that series as a complimentary play earlier this week with the Pistons as they failed to get the job done, failing to push by 1.5 points. They were getting 1.5. They lost by 2. You know, I think a lot of people today will jump back on Detroit, but I just have a hunch that New York is the way to go. So anyway, that's going to be your Sunday report, guys. I wish you well and talk to you again soon.